Let's talk about Detroit at Dallas, because that game coming up on a Saturday in Arlington, Texas, so I don't get any letters about that. That's a big one. The Lions won the division for the first time since 1993. They have an outside shot at still being the number one seed in the NFC. So, Jay Gruden, I ask you, when they have the football, the mighty Lions, what's the game plan?
Well, the game plan is simple. They got to get the ball to those two backs. Jahmyr Gibbs has a chance to lead the league in rushing yards per carry for the first time since Alvin Kamara did it. David Montgomery's having a heck of a year. Last week against Minnesota, they combined 32 carries for over 135 yards. That's a recipe for success. That's Dan Campbell's motto. He wants to run the ball physically between the tackles. And the good thing about Ben Johnson, they had two great games of study. They got to see Buffalo maul the Dallas Cowboy defense. Then they got to see Miami with the speed and the different variety of formations and running concepts that they did against Dallas last week. So two great games to look at, but I still think they're going to stay true to their identity and get the running game going. Run behind that healthy offensive line that probably is as good as any offensive line in pro football right now. The tackles are excellent. The interior guys are big and strong and very athletic. And obviously it's Laporta and Monroe St. Brown and Jameson Williams starting to pick it up a little bit too as the season's going on. So they got a great way to attack defenses. They can do a lot of different things. And then Jared Goff can manage a game. And guess what, Charles? That's a good thing. He is a great game manager.
Wait. What do you mean manage the game is a good thing? For every time I hear manage the game, people make it a negative. Will you please explain to everyone that the best quarterbacks who have busts in the Hall of Fame were game managers, because they were?
Yeah, that's your job as a quarterback. You have to manage a game. You have to take what the defense gives you. You have to take the check downs. You can't turn the ball over, avoid sacks, play field position when you play field position. Last week, Jared Goff was just 30 for 40, right? He only threw for 250 yards, but that's managing the game. And they won the game against a pretty good Minnesota Viking offense and defense. So I'm very excited for this Detroit Lion team. They are very worthy of this number one seed. Very worthy of winning this NFC South NFC North for the first time in many, many years, if not ever. So this is a team to be reckoned with offensively for sure. Defensively, I know Coach Wannstedt will go over their holes and their struggles, but offensively, this is a dangerous football team with a veteran quarterback, dynamic running game, a powerful offensive line, a game-changing type tight end, and a very experienced, well-rounded wide receiver, and Amon St. Brown and a couple other guys that can hurt you.
All right, Coach Wannstedt, it's Dallas. Dallas's defense. You know what I got to do? I got to do my DQ here, right? But you think this is a pretty good matchup for this Dallas defense, even though Jahmyr Gibbs might scare you a little bit.
I do, and I'll tell you why. The first thing, who is going to be emotionally ready to play this game? And I'll speak just from a defensive standpoint. And I say that because Dallas had a tough loss, a team that I'm sure they felt like they could have won. And Detroit winning the division. It's not like they just got in the playoffs for a while. I mean, you win the division. You know how they're patting everybody on the back up there, and it's the Christmas time, and they got family in. So
Coach, first time since 1993.
I know. I was at the Bears.
They're more than patting them on the back, aren't they?
I think two of those wins were against us, okay, to get to that playoff in 93. We're still trying to tackle Barry Sanders. But anyway, and I say that because to play great defense, you have to be all in emotionally. You can't go down there and just say, okay, we know our assignments mentally. We know what we're supposed to do. We know what they do. Let's play great defense. No, it doesn't work that way, because defense it's all about emotions. It's all about the physicality. So I will be very, very interested to see these two defenses, both of them. If I'm anticipating what Detroit's going to do, they're going to try to run the ball. We got good run blitzes for that. I believe that we'll be able to hold up okay. We got to make sure that we handle the quick game. By that, I mean the screens, as I talked about the flares. We can't get picked and give up an easy win there. So I'm going to spend time on that. And then lastly, I'm going to make darn sure that I'm working on third down. You know, when you look at the third down, Detroit's really good on third down, but so is Dallas. They're both top 5 in third down. So I think it's going to come down to that, who executes third down, offense and defense the best. And right now, I like our matchups. I mean, Gilmore's playing good. Bland's playing good. Our safeties, we're playing pretty darn good over there. We're playing pretty confident. I think that Dallas's defense will rise up to the occasion.
So, Coach, it sounds to me like you feel like that line of scrimmage part that Coach Gruden's talking about with that big physical offensive line of Detroit, you can match up with them to allow your back end to do what they need to do. And Gibbs in space, is there someone in particular you're thinking about going out there? Or are you just going to have eyes towards him to make sure you can go get him?
No, I just think, it's real easy when you're playing a lot of man coverage to drop the coverage and get your eyes in the backfield. And now it's some type of play action or misdirection or whatever it is, and the ball's out quick. So we got to be really disciplined. I would be reviewing with my guys, who's got the back, who's got the tight end. Okay, they do this, they shift, they motion. Who's got who? How are we going to handle that? And no mental mistakes. The mental edge in this game for Dallas is going to be the key. We got to be ready to play. We got to be ready to play physical. We got to be ready to play physical because they're going to try to take the air out of the ball and get them in third down and long. First down is the key for that Dallas defense in this game.
Detroit, Jay, they came off that win in Minnesota. But how about in the win, they gave up a double-digit lead, over 400 yards passing to Nick Mullins. So, Jay, when Dallas has the football, how are you attacking Aaron Glenn's defense of the Detroit Lions?
Well, you're exactly right. They did give up 411 yards passing to Nick Mullins, but they also got 4 interceptions and sacked him 4 times. Those are game-changing plays. So if I'm Dallas, I got to make sure Detroit doesn't have a lot of sack production, but they hit the quarterback a lot, and they create confusion a lot with some of their fronts and some of their blitzes. So we got to make sure we're well protected. And Tyron Smith is a huge question mark this week. He's not giving up a sack all year long. He didn't play last week. He went out of the game, I guess. And if he doesn't play, we got to make sure we shore up that left side and give that left tackle who's coming in for him some help and make sure that Dak is protected on his backside. But if he does play, then we'll be okay. But I believe that Mike McCarthy's done a good job all year managing Tony Pollard's snap counts and reps and all that stuff. But now I think it's time for Tony to get more involved, not just in the running game, but in the passing game. He's very effective catching the football, getting out on these linebackers and working them and maybe wheel routes or flat routes or option routes. Get him some help, give CeeDee Lamb some help, get him on the inside, work him in the slot. He's lined up there about 58% of the time. Jake Ferguson has done a great job this year, emerging as another target for obviously Dak Prescott. But CeeDee Lamb is their main guy. We know that. But I would like to see Dallas get back to some run-type oriented plays to take some pressure off Dak. I don't want to see Dak have to throw for 411 yards this game. I'd rather keep him in the 250s, 230s, 260s. Let Pollard and Rico get over 100 yards rushing combined. I think that's going to be a big, big challenge for Dallas. They have to get some kind of running game, not just this week, but moving forward when they play on the road in the playoffs or play at home in the playoffs. They have to become more balanced. Cook's going to get the ball in some deep shots, obviously. Gallup's got to have to make some plays, but overall, Dallas is most effective when Dak can hand the ball off and then pull it out in the play actions and get them outside the pocket. And that's what I think Mike McCarthy has to do because they're going to watch a tape on Minnesota and just see Nick Mullins throwing for all these yards, but they're also going to see 4 interceptions, 4 sacks, and see Detroit hit the quarterback a lot. And to take that pressure off, we have to have some kind of running game and get it between the tackles. And if we're not having success running the football, we better protect Dak's backside with some chips and some helps with our tight end.
Yeah, and Jay, you brought up something that I've heard you good football coaches talk about forever, is how you manage guys during the season to turn them loose during this time frame when you absolutely flat out need it as you head towards the playoffs and you can increase it. It's kind of like an NCAA tournament in basketball. The timeouts are longer, so the bench gets shorter. All right, you guys don't have to come out of the ball game.
That's also true for Dak. I wouldn't be surprised to see some zone reads, some of the things that he was good at to get him in this position, but they haven't done a lot of zone reads, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of that too to get Dak on the edge.
Yeah, well, Coach Wannstedt, let's talk about Detroit here. This Lions defense, you pointed out to us, they're pretty young, average age under 26. Aaron Glenn, their coordinators, talked about molding these young players and been doing it throughout the year. You've talked up Brian Branch from day one, their safety, and how well he was going to play, and he's done all that and then some. If you're Aaron Glenn, how are you coaching these guys up?
I'm anxious to see, as I said, What is going to be the plan to put out the run? Is it going to be bringing the linebacker pressure? Is it going to be bringing Branch and the safety pressure? How are we going to generate getting some pressure on Dak and at the same time being able to defend and not? Because I tell you what, they're kind of similar teams, but from their passing game standpoint, it's a wide receiver, it's CeeDee Lamb and St. Brown, it's the tight ends, Ferguson and Laporta, and then it's the running back. That's the top three receivers on each team. So the plan that I would have defensively is, hey, we know that Ferguson and these guys are good players, but CeeDee Lamb is the guy. You take away the big play, take him out of the game.
Hey, Coach, at this stage, you talk about these young guys and bringing them along, right? So here we are going into week 17 of the NFL season. If they've been frontline guys for you all year, are they still considered young guys in your mind? Like, I'm pretty sure you're telling them you guys aren't rookies anymore. But here's my caveat. You still have to make sure atmosphere, how big these games are, all that. Is that still a little bit of a concern for you as a head coach? Because I think the playing part is probably not your concern anymore. It's still their first time through in this type of atmosphere in the NFL would be my guess.
No, you know what? And we were when we won that first Super Bowl with Dallas, we were the youngest defense in the NFL, youngest team. And to answer your question, I would not be worried about the crowd or any of that stuff at this point. But I'll tell you what, every week, you got offensive coordinators like Jay, and here we go. The unknown, they're always going to see something. Regardless of what we work on, they're going to give you some new stuff. And when you have those veteran guys, you can turn to the veteran guys and say, hey, remember when? Hey, we want to make this quick change, okay? Let's not lock on this thing. Let's zone that trip bunch or whatever it might be. And they might look at you like, what are you talking about, Coach? So that's what always concerned me about playing the young guys, particularly on the back end. Linebacker in the back end. Defensive lineman will be fine. Back end, linebackers and them, you're going to see something new. Will they be able to be coachable enough in the heat of battle to have their training carry over and be effective on the field?
Yeah, and by week 17, my guess is you have a pretty good idea about how they're going to react at that point because you've had them in those situations all year. Coach Wannstedt, Coach Gruden, it's going to be a heck of a game in Arlington, Texas, not Dallas.